This is Amud Yomi, Gemara and Berachos, Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. When we pick it up, Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the top, in which we quote the Mishnah, which is really the precise continuation of the previous daf. That Hezebu, if they're reclining, then Echad Mavarich Lekulam. In the previous year we learned, in the previous Amud we learned, that yeshiva sitting is not enough. But rather you need reclining, we learned Tachedesh. But if you said, let's all go be Koiveya in one place, that is similar to reclining. Now we learn, said the Mishnah, if they recline, then Echad Mavarich Lekulam, 7 lines on the top, and Gimel Amud Aleph, says the Gemara, Amar Rav Lo Shana Lepas Deboye Seba. When did the Mishnah say that one person can make a bracha for everyone? It's only by bread, which requires a sebu, aval yayin. Excuse me, but wine. Wine does not require heseba, and therefore, even if they're merely sitting, you could be might see one another. Even wine requires heseba. Another lashon amarav lashon alapas the mahanyale heseba. Slightly nuanced difference in this lashon. Says Rav that heseba helps. Wine it doesn't even help to do heseba. One step lower, we could say. And on this, Meisvei asks the Gemara Kasha on Rav. Ketzad Seder Seba, says the Brayso, what is the order of a Seba? Archa Nichnasim, the guests enter V'yoshan Gabi Safs only sit on the bench, while Gabi Katad Roisen on chairs, Achi Kadzu Kulam until they all come in, Eviu Lemayim, as they're waiting for everyone to sit down to give them water. Kol Echad V'echad Not the other Achas. Everyone washes one hand. Continues the Brayso, Kol Echad V'echad Not the other Achas Bolem Yayin. They bring them wine. Kol Echad V'echad Mavarich Latzmai. Everyone makes the bracha, a wine for themselves. Alu v'esebu, they get up and they recline. Ubal hemayin, and after everyone comes in, alu v'esebu, they come now into the main area. So till now they're sitting in more of a waiting area, we could call it. And in that waiting area, what do? They washed one hand and then they had wine. Now they go into the dining room. Ubal hemayin, they bring water. They already all washed one hand. Still, they wash both hands. They bring wine. Everyone already made a bracha. One person makes a bracha for all of them. So says the Gemara, now from here we can deduce a kasha on Rav. Kasha dereisha. The first part of the Brayso is shver. So the first part of the Brayso, what do we see? We see that even though they're merely sitting together, everyone makes a bracha by themselves. And according to the first bracha, first lashon of Rav, that should not be necessary. Answers the Gemara, shiny archin the daitayu lemekar. Archim is different. Why? Because their das is not to be together. Their das is to remove themselves. Therefore, you can't bring a kasha from archim. But continues the Gemara lahach lishna according to the second lashon damarav loshan lepasim mahani le'aseifa v'yein lo mahani le'aseifa kasha the seifa. Because the seifa, what do we see? We see they all came into the main dining room. They're all mesiv, they're all reclining, and then one can make a bracha for everyone. But why? According to the second lashon, it shouldn't help a seibu on wine. Answers the Gemara, shiny asam the migu de kamahani le'aseifa lepas mahani le'aseifa le'yayin. And this is something that the Gemara is proving that even the second lashon will be maskim, that since there's a seba for one, since they're reclining and that would help for the bread, then it will even help for the wine. We continue smack in the middle of the Amud at the 2 dots, which we quote the next part of the Mishnah, that says, if wine comes during the meal, everyone makes their own bracha. But at the end of the meal, one bracha is made for everyone. Shalu es ben zaym le'ma amru. What's the reason? Asked Ben Zaym. Whereas Achar Kulam explains Ben Zayma Amar Lehem Your throat is not clear, and therefore, if one person's yotzi someone else during the meal, it could cause a sakana by after answering a main. Whereas la'achar hamazon, that would be necessary. And now we continue by quoting the last part of the Mishnah. V'u'amer al mugmar, the one who made a bracha on the wine makes a bracha on the mugmar. This incense situation they used to do la'achar asuda. Says the Gemara, sounds like this one even greater than him. Meaning, someone else should have made the bracha on the mugmar, but because this was the guy that made the bracha al yayin, he makes the bracha al hamugmar. Says the Gemara, Messiah the Rav, this is a right to Rav, Damar of Chibar Rashi Amarav, Ha'anoit al yadav zechila ba'achrayin, the one who washed his hands first at the end of the meal, who mezuman libracha. That the fact that he did one thing gives him the kedima for the benching. And we say a raya from a story, Rav Chia v'Yasin Kamei, to Rebbe Yisudal, so Amalei Rebbe the Rav, Rebbe said to Rav, come, get up, Meshei Yadach, wash your hands. Chazem Rata, so the Rav was like a little bit upset that Rebbe said such. Amalei Rav Chia said to Rav, don't be worried, Bar Paschi, you son of nobles, a derogatory term. Review Berachos Hamazon is what he's telling you. That's what he's trying to indicate to you. So don't be insulted. And therefore, when he's telling you to wash your hands, Rebbe is really telling you that you're the one that's going to bench for everyone, because he who washed your hands first was the one that had the schus of benching. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Zira, Amar Rav Bar Yirmiyah, Meimos Havarchan al Reach. When do we make a bracha on reach, on mugmar, on the fragrance of the incense? Mishetal et hamartoi. When the smoke arises, that's when you can make a bracha on the mugmar. How can you make a bracha when the column of smoke rises? It sounds like you didn't even smell it yet. When you make hamaitzi, you didn't eat yet. So rather, what's pshat? You make the bracha right beforehand, and then you eat. You're going to smell it in a moment. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Chia Breid Rav Abba Bar Nachmeni Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav. We are 6 lines from the wide lines. V'amrilan. Some say Amar Rav Chisda Amar Ziri. Kol hamugmaris. All mugvaros varchlein bari atzei b'samim. Chot mi mushk shemen chayahu. Except for musk, which is not from wood, but rather comes from a min chayo. It's an animal derivative. That's really the klal. Anytime it's not clearly from a type of bread, it goes bayre mine besamim. When we end, one more kasha says the Gemara Meis. We only say bari atzi b'samim on the parparos, on the balls of wood from the house of Rebbe, and the balls of Mershal Beis Keser, and al das everywhere. You just told me on the mugmar you say bari atzi b'samim. Says the Gemara, indeed, to Yufta, that is a kasha. And we're just begin because the next amid is a little bit of a lengthier amid. So one more piece, says the Gemara, Amar Le Rav Chisda, on the first wide line, the Rav Yitzchak. Hi, mishcha the farsimon, balsam oil. My mevarchan alaya, what is the bracha when you smell it? Amar Le, hachem Rav Yehuda bari shemin artzenu. Blessed is he who creates oils of the land. Amar Le, Rav Chisda says to Rav Yitzchak bar minei, Rav Yehuda the chaviv le'eretz Yisrael, excluding the opinion of Rav Yehuda who says everything for Eretz Yisrael so gevaldik l'kuli alma mai. So Rav Yehuda seemingly had this special affinity towards Eretz Yisrael, so he made this bracha. But what about the rest of us? Amar le hachim Rav Yochanan barei shemen ariv. Says the Gemara, Amar Avad Barava, and this will conclude. Hi kisharta. Kisharta literally is some sort of plant, some sort of spice. Hi kashata. Says the Gemara, but the oil that comes from within this plant is within it. We don't make a bracha of Rav Kana. Even though oil that's inside, but oil that comes through grinding it up, even the oil that comes from grinding it up. And says the Gemara, Amar Rav Gidol Amarav, in the top line of Mem Gimel base, Hi Simlak, which is jasmine of Archle Bari Atzi. Amar Rachlan Amarav, Hani Chofi Diama, there's some other type of plant, Archle Bari Atzi Besamim. And Amar Marzucha Micro, where do we see this in the Pasik? Via Losam, I got of it in Kapishte Ha-8, and she brought them up to the roof and she hid them in the woods of the flax. So what do we see? The flax is called wood, and that's the reason why you're going to be able to make the Bari Atzi Besamim. We'll stop over here. We'll play Kanav from Risharshia the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.